is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I'm Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Be sure to go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. And while you're there, go check out our pinned post on X and go to the description of each of these shows on the listening platforms and over on YouTube. We've got year 6 of Rock Around the 412. We are in the final week, people. It's crazy. We started this off in July. I talked about it a little bit last week. It's crazy how fast time flies. I feel like football season definitely helps along with that, but we're only a week away, less than a week away, because we actually set a hard date for the donations to cut off, which we typically don't do. We kind of just go with the flow. But we have a hard date of December 11th, which is 6 days away as of recording this. So if you're considering
this will be the last episode that we talk about.
This is the last episode that we'll be talking about getting donations. We'll be able to tell you the final tally, talk about more about the families we've been able to help and all that sort of stuff in the upcoming shows. But yes, this is the last episode you're going to hear that we talk about wanting donations still. So if you're interested in that, or if you know somebody who could be interested and you want to share it and pass it along, it is the pin post on X, like I said, and it's also in the description of each of these shows on the listening platforms and on YouTube. So if you want to check that out, the link is there, as well as we have a Facebook and an Etsy link for Everything Custom Designs, which is Haley Wagner, our friend's small business. If you want to go check that out, she's got some Christmas stuff for you. I've seen she has various Christmas designs in terms of just like clothing that you can get. She's also got some stockings that you can get customized, as well as like a Santa sack that you could deliver presents in or have a fun display with. There's all sorts of Christmas stuff that she's got going on, and she's got stuff outside of Christmas too, if you're interested in anything else as well. So if you want to reach out to her, we got a couple links in the description too that you can get in touch with her. But yeah, check out the links. 6 days until Rocking Around the 412 year 6 is done.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think about. And I'll be honest, there's a part of me obviously that like wants to say I can't wait until it's over because of everything that goes into it. And how busy I am when it's going on. But of course, I want this to continue, to be able to raise as much money as possible, to be able to help as many children as possible. So keep them coming in, make me do a bunch of work over the next week to be able to do this. And beyond that, obviously the donations will be up until the week, but I'll still be doing stuff, obviously buying the stuff. And then if they are families, wrapping the stuff. We put a lot of that, in the family's hands though, in terms of if they want us to do it or if they would like to do it. Is it supposed to be from Santa? Do they want it to be from them? So we really don't care. The main thing is we're getting these children the presents, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. As Tyler kind of mentioned, I want to be able to, when this is all wrapped up, try to figure out, since we started this thing in 2018, a rough estimate in terms of how many children we've impacted, how many families we've impacted. We know that we've raised over $30,000. That much we know for sure, which is a crazy number.
When we say we mean a collective everybody, not just the two of us sitting here.
Yeah,
because we're literally the mouthpiece of this. We don't do anything besides organize all the gifts, like Smitty was just saying. Really, it's everybody else that gets all of this stuff for the children to be able to. All the donations are really where it comes from. So when we say we're not just talking about us.
Yeah. What was I say? You were tiptoeing the line there when you said we don't really do anything. I took a look to my left, and I would slightly have to disagree with that when I take a look.
No. We don't do anything in terms of like
right.
The actual funding for it, but we do in terms of actually the involvement with the families and everything like that. Yes.
And what we do, because we are so appreciative of people's generosity, is give them an opportunity to win prizes for donating at least $10 to the cause. So if you donate at least $10, you'll be eligible to win prizes. We got an Eric Carlson jersey, a Joey Porter Jr. jersey, another Steelers jersey of choice, a set of Penguin tickets, an autographed Micah Fitzpatrick jersey. I'm gonna have to figure out something Pirates to throw in there, at least one thing as well. So I'll take a look at like Total Sports Enterprise or something. But if anybody has an idea too, like because pretty clear at this point that between the three teams, we talk about the Pirates the least. We might not have the best gauge or the best hand on the pulse of what Pirates fans would want. So if there is a specific item or idea that you have for what would be a really cool Pirates prize, throw it my direction and we'll see what we can do.
I think they want Monday night tickets in April.
there you go. But okay, so this is the Steelers show, so I feel like we should talk about the Steelers.
We're 5 minutes in, haven't said a lick about the Steelers.
Maybe, yeah, we should just put, you know what? That's the end of the episode. We'll talk to you guys after this Patriots game. See you next week. No, but I think that let's talk about this game against the Cardinals. I feel like we're 5 minutes into this thing. We haven't talked about it yet. Maybe subconsciously.
For this marathon against the Cardinals. Because I felt like it felt more like a marathon, especially for someone that was actually in the building for it.
Well, I was about to say, this was the first game that I did not stick around for since I think definitely since I've had my season tickets. I don't know if I've ever left the game early. If I did, it would have been by my parents' choice when I didn't have the opportunity to say no when I was so young and don't even really remember it. This was the first game I left. And it necessarily didn't have to do with like what was going on scoreboard wise. When it went to a second weather delay, I was like, that's it. Like this is miserable. There's no point in me being here. There were other factors at play besides just the game, like with the way that the weather was and everything like that. So my dad and I left, and we got home before the game even ended. Like it was like early in the fourth quarter by the time I got home because of the delay and everything like that. Very easy to get out of traffic from the casino. But yeah, what was actually going on the field, and I of course, like, still had to go back and watch it anyway because I feel like I have to be able to have a conversation about the game. I'm not one of those people that just like to look at the box score, be ill informed. Went back and watched this, and right away, what jumped out to me was they were running the football well early. Actually, they did a lot of things well on that first drive. I mean, they open up with a play action deep shot to George Pickens. Obviously, the drive stalls out in the red zone and they have to settle for 3. But I felt really good after that first drive and thinking, okay, this is the way that this game should probably go. You know, even if you are settling for field goals here and there against this Arizona team, that should be enough. But it wasn't. James Conner had a day. Kyler Murray used his legs a little bit to be able to extend and make some plays. And the offense gave them nothing. So, and they turned the football over, which is something they haven't done very much. The Steelers offense did. So I don't know where you want to start with this. Let's start with the injury stuff because Kenny Pickett going to miss multiple weeks. We don't know exactly how long that is going to be, but Mitch Trubisky came in this game. We will see him start Thursday. Multiple weeks in a row, he's going to start. The question is, when are we going to get Kenny back? Sounds like, best case scenario would be the end of this month against Cincinnati. I think it's more realistic. You're looking at Seattle or Baltimore to end the season. Does anything change for you, though, for the offense? Because realistically, the way I'm looking at it, we had this conversation when we thought Kenny got hurt, suffered an injury against the Texans that was going to sideline him for a little bit. For me, short term doesn't really change anything about the offense. I think Mitch can give you the man, you're losing 3 points that you scored with Kenny before halftime. I don't think much changes in the short term in terms of production from the offense. But the entire reason of firing Canada was because Kenny wasn't being developed. So you had this opportunity now to evaluate Kenny away from Canada, and any time that he is missing is games that you are losing valuable time to evaluate what you have in him to try to come to an answer as if he is the guy. So that to me is what is actually happening here. What's your take on it going from Kenny to Mitch with this offense?
I don't think it has much of an impact on what actually happens on the field. To be completely honest, and maybe that's a more of an indictment and more of a bad sign for what it looks like whenever Kenny's at quarterback than whatever it is with Mitch at quarterback, just because there's no drop off. It really seems like they can at least from a functionality standpoint operate in the exact same way they could under Mitch that they could have under Kenny. And I think that's a problem that the Steelers are going to have moving forward because Kenny hasn't showed that step and taken a leap to separate himself from quarterback 1 to quarterback 2. Realistically, let's be honest, people. Like, Kenny is the quarterback 1 because he's their first round draft pick, not because he's outstandingly better than Mitch Trubisky. And I do think that Kenny still gives you a slight edge, but it's not much. It's not much. One thing that he has not done recently is not turn over the ball. He hasn't done that in the most majority of the season, especially in the recent parts. Mitch, in his time that he's been in, especially this season so far, except for this last game. Well, actually, no, he lost a fumble. So never mind.
Yeah, I put that on Mason Cole, but yeah, it was a fumble.
It's still a turnover on the box score for Trubisky. So, but regardless, there's been a turnover seemingly every single time that Mitch has taken more than a few snaps in a game. So that's the one thing where I would say there's a noticeable difference and even a statistical difference between the two. But as far as like what the play calls are going to be, how the offense is going to function, I feel like that is more so going to be up to the defense they're going up against, obviously, but not necessarily who's the quarterback. Like, I don't think the playbook is going to change at all on Thursday night versus what we've seen the rest of the season just because they're switching to Mitch Trubisky. I think it's going to be the exact same.
Yeah, what I'm really interested in is, well, actually, I don't want to bring up this point because we'll talk about it when we talk about this Patriots game. But yeah, I mean, I'm in full agreement, obviously, in terms of what the offense can do, whether it's Kenny or whether it's Mitch under center. Maybe Mitch is a little bit more willing to take chances, and that could be to the betterment of the team or go against them if he does turn the football over. But if you didn't say it, I was going to. The one thing that Kenny does do that they like, it kind of fits the way that they want to play football, is not turning the football over, and that just kind of goes along with their style. Like, we're going to run the football, we're going to play really good defense, and we're not going to turn it over, and we're going to play a very boring style of football and probably beat you like 13-10. That is what the Steelers have done this year. Going to Mitch now, you almost wonder, like, you have to have, I feel like, a little bit higher of a ceiling offensively in the case that he does turn the football over, or that has to be something that he is very cautious of. No quarterback's going out there trying to turn the football over, obviously, but when you have a guy that's more willing to take risks, and I appreciate this, I'd rather him be a little bit of a gunslinger. That's just going to come along with it. So it's going to be interesting to see now that he knows he's the starter. Like, you're not coming in as the backup. Mitch knows for a few weeks here, at least, he's going to be QB1 of this football team. How different does he look now being prepared to be the guy? Like, we've talked about this in the past, and it's actually been the other way. Like, we felt better about him coming in relief, knowing that somebody wasn't like breathing down his neck. But, you still feel like very clearly the team doesn't think highly of the idea of playing Mason Rudolph. They might like having him in the room and like having him as insurance, but I think that they're going to give Mitch a pretty decent leash here. So I still feel the same way. Like, he doesn't have a first-round pick breathing down his neck. Does that play into it at all in terms of how loose he's going to go out there and play?
I think it probably would, and that's something that I was going to bring up, is that we've talked about how Mitch Trubisky seems to play different when he doesn't have somebody giving him pressure from behind, and as far as a backup goes. And with Mason Rudolph, you're not going to get that. The Steelers have made that very clear, I feel like you were just saying, that there's no real opportunity that Mason Rudolph is going to get outside of another quarterback injury. And so with the leash going to be longer for Mitch, I would think that you would probably feel more comfortable. And especially knowing, like you were saying too, that you're not coming off the bench. Like, you're going into it, you get the number one reps all week in practice. Well, all week, all 3 days in practice. And even the games after that, moving forward, you're going to be the guy. So whether or not the offenses changes from a fundamental standpoint, I don't think that necessarily matters, because it's not going to. I think that what is going to change, as far as what can change, is the mentality that Mitch Trubisky is going to have and how that affects him as a quarterback moving forward. If he knows, and I'm sure Mitch knows, like, this is not a permanent thing. Like, I feel like the only way that this could be a permanent thing is if he looks so good where Kenny comes back and they're like, listen, we're riding the hot hand right now. Like if he's coming back and he's throwing like 2 to 3 touchdowns a game, averaging 250, 300 yards a game, I'm not expecting this in the slightest, but I'm just saying, in the off chance that this happens and it comes back, Kenny comes back and we're on a win streak and we're lighting it up on the scoreboard and stuff, it's like, that would be a tough decision as far as the Steelers goes, or it's like, Kenny didn't necessarily do anything on the field to lose the job compared to what Mitch was doing before he came in as a starter. But now, because of injury, that could change some things. Like I said, fully do not expect that. But I do think that this could put Mitch in a better mindset as the starting quarterback, which could lead to better play or more loose play. I think that Mitch Trubisky will probably perform to the best of his abilities in the situation he's in right now, because there's nobody breathing down his neck, like we've been saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big winner of this is George Pickens. to be honest with you, because I do think that you're going to see him take a few more shots down. The thing I'm curious, is he going to take shots down the middle of the field? Like we started to see a little bit of in Cincinnati and was hoping would carry over. I think they're going to stretch it out, on the boundaries. And I think Pickens could definitely win some there. I mean, you saw in this game, what do you have, like four catches for like 80 some yards. So once again, averaging over 20 a pop was Pickens. And I think that he's probably the beneficiary in this move. Obviously that's not what I'm not hoping that it's just one guy on offense that benefits and they're still doing the exact same thing. That's an interesting point that you brought up, though, is like Mitch's performance. How does it play into when Kenny does come back? If it depends on, and this is if you believe this, Jerry Dulac put out there that the Steelers were close to benching Kenny in Cleveland. So if we are to believe that, that the leash was gotten that, and I don't know, I really don't know what to make of that. But if the leash had gotten that short that they were about to do it there, and that's without Mitch, stringing together some performances here and the team winning, like in the scenario you presented, you would have to think it's possible for sure that the Steelers just do ride the hot hand. I mean, they haven't gotten good quarterback play in a very long time. They've gotten quarterback play that they can win football games with, but they haven't gotten quarterback play that they're winning because of in a very long time. If you start getting that type of quarterback play you're talking about, 2+ touchdowns, 250 yards a game, I mean, I don't know how you don't stick with it.
I'm just saying that Jake Browning threw for 354 yards. I'd literally jump off my roof of the apartment building if Kenny threw for 354 yards in a game. I don't even know if he's thrown for 254 yards.
He had 278 against the Bengals, and that's what I was about to bring up. Was he had 278 against the Bengals, and we're sitting here talking like he just threw for 500. Like that is what the equivalent is. I mean, when you see him throwing for barely over 100, and then he has a game for 278, that type of jump is what we're talking about here. But Jake Browning, yeah, he was fantastic against Jacksonville. I thought that they game planned very. And here, let me bring the Trubisky thing into that conversation. Jake Browning, maybe, not fully prepared to come in and play the Steelers, though he did have, basically they played on Thursday night when Joe got hurt. So he should have known, he had a little bit of time to get ready for the Steelers. But then the next full week, being able to prepare as knowing Joe's season's over, I am the guy the rest of the way, and look at the performance he goes out and has. It's a lot of that is in the coaching staff's hands as well. And I don't trust the Steelers offensive staff to put together that type of a game plan for Trubisky. But all I'm saying is, again, so maybe you're not looking at this Patriots game, but for sure that following against Indy, you should get the best version of Mitch. So I'm almost looking at it like, okay, short weeks suck. The fact that the Steelers play in 2 days or 1 day, depending on when you are watching or listening to this, just shows how asinine it is that Thursday Night Football is a thing, because this game against the Cardinals literally just happened and we got to go play another one. But as long as you can get past this one, don't look past New England and get a W there. Then you got a little bit of an extended time before you got to go to Indy. All that time to prepare Mitch to be the number one guy, knowing there's not a guy breathing down his neck. I don't know. Maybe there's something more in there. I'm not saying like a Jake Browning type performance, but understanding that he is the guy, at least for a little bit.
We just need the I love kissing titties Mitch. That's what we really need. We need that version of Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah. What a time. What a time to be alive. There was anything offensively in this Cardinals game stand out to you otherwise? There's nothing. There was really nothing
stand out to me. The questionable play calling on like the middle down, so like second and third down.
Yeah,
I feel like well, the one thing that I don't think they did enough, and I mean between the two of them, they had 25 carry. I don't think they ran the ball enough.
Yeah, and it was never like Arizona was like up by so much that they took it away from their offense. Like you didn't have to go away from it.
Yeah, like I understand it was pretty evenly split when you look at like the passes to the carries, because not including quarterback carries, because these couldn't include sacks. But actually no, it wouldn't include sacks because neither of our quarterbacks got sacked. So not including quarterback carries regardless, just because. 16 for Najee, 9 for Jaylen Warren, so 25 carries by the running backs, and they threw the ball 27 times. It's evenly split, but I feel like it didn't need to be in this game, considering how the game was evolving. Like once you got away from that first drive and you saw that you weren't moving the ball through the air like you were before, I don't understand why they continued to try to do it, because they were setting themselves up. I feel like specifically on like first and second down, they were setting themselves up for a worse third down than they could have been. When I felt like a lot of the times, if you just run the ball, you're going to get at least 3 to 4 yards. Because I mean, early on, it seemed like they were getting at least 3 to 4 yards a pop every single time they were touching the ball, if not more. I just was curious, like, why do you think they went away from that? Or even I don't even know the reasoning.
Yeah, I didn't think the sequencing of the plays was very good. It didn't seem like there was any rhyme or reason. They weren't building one thing off of another in this game. So I didn't think Sullivan was very good. Alan and I talked about that on our show today as well. Like that was definitely lacking from the offense too. You know, it wasn't just execution in this one. Like you can go back and watch. There were certainly plays left on the field by the players for sure. You could say that every week though. But yeah, I don't think that the play calling helped them either for sure in this one. And I don't know why they got away from it, because Arizona not good against the run. The Steelers running backs have been fantastic as of late. They've been running the ball down people's throats, 150 plus and 4 straight before that was broken on Sunday against the Cardinals. I don't know what it was. I really don't have an answer for you. I don't know if for whatever reason they saw something matchup wise that they just didn't want to go against. I'm sure Isaac Seumalo getting hurt might have changed their plans a little bit. But I thought Herbig stepped in and actually from that point on was one of their better offensive linemen for certainly on run blocking. I mean, actually, now that we're on the subject of the offensive linemen, there was the rough Broderick Jones game. That was it. He was very bad in this one. And, you know, he's a rookie. Those are going to come. We're going to have the growing pains. It's encouraging that we didn't see it up until this point. It's odd that it comes against this opponent. And now you just hope that like these days don't stack. Hopefully he's able to bounce back on a short week against New England and play much better, because I thought he finally had his like one really down performance that you can look at and say that he looked like a rookie in this one.
And Mason Cole had his like 7th down performance.
I mean, I don't even know what to say about Mason. Here's the thing about Mason Cole. Is, and I'll let you speak to what you're seeing too, but because I want to bring another aspect into this, which he is very good at, and why he is still being kept around. Not that it's a reason that he should be. He is, for whatever reason, for better or worse, you can take it or leave it, the leader of that offensive line. He is the guy that, win or loss, is available to the media, very open and honest about his and his team's performance. And is, you know, we'll have conversations about it. And he's just been that guy for the offensive line over the last 2 seasons. Now, at the same time, if you're not performing on the field, to me, that doesn't matter. But I understand why the Steelers value him, especially being the organization that they are, for what he brings from a leadership perspective. But you got to be at least providing, you know, baseline center play, you know, for that to even come into the equation for me, the type of leadership qualities that you bring to the table. And in my mind, other than, you know, for a stretch last year, you know, and like after the bye week where I thought like kind of everybody on that offensive line was improving, he hasn't been good enough for this team of the better part of 2 seasons.
I mean, at times I just feel like he looks lost at center. To me, it looks like he's taking wrong steps in his like blocking reads, and it's costing them in terms of like how well they're executing what their actual blocks are. And I feel like he gets blown up way too easily. And whenever you're talking about some of the shotgun snaps, we had one on Sunday with Mitch, and that's what caused that fumble. But then you also have one earlier this season with Kenny that I saw floating around Twitter because
Jacksonville
showing the replay. Yeah, they were showing the replay of that one. And
common denominator in both of those. It was raining. And I'm not excusing it, but I'm just saying clearly he has trouble snapping the ball in the rain, which you would think most guys have more trouble, but you got to be able to do it if you're an NFL center.
Exactly. He looks lost to me, and he just looks like he doesn't necessarily know what read he should be making as far as like what the defense is giving in front of him at times. And I feel like that's why he gets blown up so easily. But at the same time, they don't really have a better option right now as far as centers goes. So I understand why he keeps playing. And like you were saying, he is the leader of that offensive line, for better or for worse. But I definitely think that, like, after last season, we knew that tackle was arguably the position, but definitely one of the positions that the Steelers are going to be looking at with their first pick, if not one of their first like 2 picks. I feel like center has to be one of their first 2 or 3 picks. They have to look to improve at the position. If they're not going to draft one, they have to get one in free agency. I'm not aware of any free agent centers, at least off the top of my head, but they've got to address that, because I feel like that is going to be continuing to kill them if they can't shore up the middle of that offensive line.
Yeah, I would think that that's near the top of their 24 offseason list right now is center. And to your point about not having other viable options behind him, that's another one of those things that to me is similarly to the whole Canada debacle, is a mistake not made necessarily in season. It's made prior to the season, not having somebody else that you can trust to be put into the spot. Because very clearly, like even last year when he was playing well, he knew he wasn't going to be the long-term solution. Like even if he was playing above what he should be or what he looked like he had through his career, you knew this wasn't some long-term solution guy at center. He wasn't going to be, the next Pouncey or anything like that. Or what you had maybe hoped Kendrick Green was going to be when you drafted him. Like you knew this was not going to be the long-term solution at center. He's a bridge. I think he should have done better behind him. And I mentioned Kendrick Green, and maybe to start training camp, they thought he would be the guy, and then it looked even worse than it did his rookie year. And then obviously they end up moving on from him. I think that this is a failure done before the season, as opposed to the conversation that we're having right now by not bringing in somebody else capable of performing that job, whether it be due because say Mason Cole gets hurt, like we're talking about for performance reasons, but like at least he would still be healthy enough in a pinch to do it. Like if you had to do it, if Mason Cole gets hurt, what are they doing? Like they don't even have James Daniels snapping at all, even though he's very capable.
Your backup center, technically.
Probably. Yeah, I would assume so. And I don't know how I feel about that. Like, because it's not something that he's really done a whole lot of. Like, they don't have another natural center on the roster. Spencer Anderson, would he be the guy who's played all 5 spots? I don't know. It's Herbig or Spencer Anderson. It's not Daniels, even though had Daniels been doing a little bit of it here and there, he would be their best option.
It's a problem. It continues to be a problem, and that's why like when I mentioned the fumble that Mitch had, that was really on the center. Like that is definitely on the snap itself. I mean,
again,
Mitch could have looked a little bit more athletic trying to look for the ball, but I mean, I'm not going to complain about it when it's tangled in his feet. That's definitely on the center.
Well, maybe that's another one you say where Kenny makes a play that Mitch doesn't, and it's not necessarily doing anything afterwards, but it's saving the possession for the Steelers. I think we've seen Kenny be able to do that.
That's one of those ones where it's just you in the moment. I understand the thought of staying on your feet and picking up the ball, but sometimes you just got to take your lumps where they come, and you just have to dive down on the ball, like fall down. Yeah. So from that, I guess that's a correction for Mitch Trubisky, but in the heat of the moment, I get it. Like I totally get it for him just wanting to pick up the ball. But what is it where I feel like bad snaps just breed offensive lines letting people through? Like I understand that the defense is going to see the bad snap, but I just feel like there was not even like a chance for Trubisky to even pick up the ball and do something with it. It just seemed like people were in his face automatically.
Yeah, I don't. I that's a good question. I don't know, because I mean I've went back and watched that. Obviously, they were very quick on Trubisky. Multiple guys were there very quick on Trubisky. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if like the sound, because they hear ball or something. Maybe that throws them off or something. I don't know.
Mainly, I'm just like whether the snap is bad or not, the only one who really knows that the snap is bad is the quarterback. Even the center probably doesn't necessarily know that the snap was bad. The blocking should still be the same whether the snap was bad or not. I don't know. It was just frustrating.
Let's switch to the defensive side of the football, and I want to start on a good note because we talked so negatively here to start this episode. Keeanu Benton just continues to be better and better each and every week. He only was able to play 20-some snaps in this one, was dealing with a little bit of an oblique injury.
They're in nickel and dime. He's not on the field. I saw Derek tweeting out the percentages of snaps or the total of snaps for the interior guys whenever the Steelers are in nickel and dime, and Keeanu Benton had 2 snaps.
Yeah. And well, again, I'm not saying that that's not like that's a season long thing. I'm assuming, right? That he put out there, not just, So we haven't gotten to the point where he's out there anyway. And maybe it will be similarly to the utilization of Javon Hargrave, who was a really good player, but didn't play a ton, in those scenarios and stuff. I hope not. I would like to see Keeanu Benton. I think he offers a little bit more flexibility for them too. Like he can move along and play in different techniques. So I'll be interested to see not necessarily the rest of this year, but as we progress here, 2024, 2025, how is he being utilized? Because I think realistically, despite him playing where he is right now, I think he's the long-term solution at Cam Hayward's spot. So I do think you're going to continue to see his role grow. But anyways, just 20-some snaps on Sunday. Was dealing with an oblique injury. Short week. You got Monty Adams coming back too, who's played really well prior to injury. So I don't know that I'm expecting a full workload back all of a sudden. He is a guy that this year has gotten upwards of 60% of the snaps in certain weeks. And when I look at the Patriots, I would think that they would be the type of game where that could happen again, because they're not, really a threat to pass the ball. Even though they did lose Ramondre Stevenson, I still think they want to run the football at their core. But I don't think that's necessarily going to happen because of this oblique injury limiting him a little bit. But I do think, man, was he flashing in this game. I mean, there's a play where he blows up an offensive lineman into Kyler Murray and forces him to fumble a handoff before he can get the ball to James Conner. They obviously recovered it and everything like that. But those are the types of plays that are really just popping off the page to me. And I mean, what a pick that this has continued to be. He just continues to get better and better. And, I think as the draft class as a whole, I could say the same thing about it. I know Broderick took his lumps, like I said, on Sunday, but Joey Porter Jr. has been fantastic, way more than we could ask for at this point. Darnell's doing his job. He's doing what they drafted him to do, being a blocking tight end.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and Herbig, man, and another, you want to talk about a guy that's making the most of his opportunities. If he plays he's played 13 snaps or something like that over the last 3 weeks, he has 2 sacks in those. He's making the most of his opportunities every time he's on the field.
Yeah, this draft class continues to be what we talked about. I said it whenever this draft class happened, that it was arguably the best draft class that I've had in my lifetime on paper, and off of paper and on the field, they've continued to show that they were right on that. Broderick Jones, outside of having a poor game in this game, has had a great season so far, especially being your number one guy and stepping in to take over starting role on that offensive line. Joey Porter Jr. has definitely improved as the season has went along. I think that was a great pick, and to get him technically the second round was awesome. And then even Keeanu Benton is a guy that I remember during our live draft show talked about whether this guy is actually going to be there when the Steelers pick again. We talked about this could be a guy that somebody's going to take at the back end of the first round if they really liked him. And so when you get that type of talent and you're able to get it with your third pick, I mean, it was amazing value, and he's continuing to show why he's arguably, out of everybody, and I just sang the praises of the other two, he's arguably the best pick, I think, as far as this season goes with these draft picks.
Yeah, I think he has been. Now, taking into consideration the fact that they've needed Porter to play so much more, with what they've gotten from the other corners, and now Broderick starting as a tackle and stuff like that, I get it. But just on a per snap basis, the impact that he's making every time that he's on the field, I think it's Keeanu Benton that's been their best draft pick. And to your point, I think he could have gone at the back end of round 1. I mean, you look at Dallas spent a first round pick on Mozzie Smith. That could have been Keeanu Benton instead of Mozzie Smith. And I don't think at least I wouldn't have been questioning it if that's the route that they would have went, because how I felt about Keeanu Benton. But all right, well, now we got to talk negatively about the defense. What is it? And I'm not you should win more games than not with what they were getting from their defense. But, and we'll talk about the injuries. What is it about the end of half defense, for whatever reason, that they are just, I mean, you could go back through, I brought this up to Alan, whether it's a field goal or 7, they have given up points in 8 of their games this year, right before half or at the end of the fourth quarter. I don't know what it is about the end of half defense from them. I don't know if it's getting playing too relaxed, being willing to give up a field goal in a lot of these scenarios, or what it is, but it's happening too often. And we saw it rear its head on Sunday again, that play where Kenny gets hurt, at the 1 yard line, and they don't punch it in. Arizona goes 99 yards for a touchdown right before half. And that is the swing of the game right there. I mean, that was all the momentum right there.
You can get defensively. It's going into halftime.
Yep.
I don't know. I would give them the benefit of the doubt, or I'd at least like to, in terms of like their end of game, because they've been on the field so much more than the offense. But even in the first half, like I don't understand what it is that they give up points so easily at the ends of these halves. I think that you could be onto something. I think it could be them just like kind of taking their foot off the gas and playing more of a bend don't break, but oftentimes they do break and they do let up 7 right before halftime. But I just don't know if that's necessarily in what type of schemes they're calling that they're letting this give up, or is it just something mentally with the players to where they're just kind of like taking it a little easy on some of these drives. But it's a killer, and like I said, that letting up a 99-yard drive is arguably the worst thing that you can do as a defense. I think that letting up a 99-yard drive, you let them go the entire way of the field, because it's not like they had a short field, or if they're at midfield, or even if they were on 25. They were at their own 1, and you let them drive down. As far as a defense goes, there should be nothing that pisses you off more than letting that happen. So I don't know what to make of it.
Week 2 against Cleveland, they let up a field goal with 27 seconds left in the half. Week 4 against Houston, they let up a field goal with 4 seconds left in the half. Week 6 against the Rams, or I'm sorry, week 7, because they had a bye week 6. Week 7 against the Rams, they let up a touchdown with 25 seconds left. Week 8 against Jacksonville, they let up a field goal with a minute left. Week 9 against Tennessee, they gave up a field goal with 3 seconds left in the first half. Packers one was still 4 minutes left in the half. Touchdown. Week 11 against Cleveland, field goal with 9 seconds left in the first half, and then the game-winning field goal with 5 seconds left in the game. So both of those. And then that was it, because I don't count the Cincinnati field goal in that game, because clearly they were up 16-7 and they let them have the field goal. And then, that was before this Cardinals one. So
including the Cardinals one, there's been 8 occurrences where they've given up a score at the end of a half, like on the last drive of a half.
Mm-hmm. Yes, in 12 games.
Man, that's good. That's efficient. You want to talk about efficiency? If the Steelers are anything, if their offense is going to be inefficient, you know their defense is going to be efficient at something.
2/3 of the games they've let up a score at the end of at least one of the 2 halves, right at the end, within the last minute. Yeah, I mean that's not good. But overall, it's hard to put blame on the defense for the reasons you're saying. They're on the field so much. Like, the only time that we saw balance between the offense and defense was that game against Cincinnati. And TJ talked about it, like feeling like there was still another level for this defense. If the offense is able to run the ball and hold time of possession, how much better can we be? Especially when we get Minkah back. They get Minkah back, it doesn't matter, because the offense isn't putting points up on the board. And then Minkah breaks his hand in this game. Not going to miss time, but why not? Of course, with everything else that's happened this year, Minkah breaks his hand in this game. So, you know what? Did we talk about? Was it on here, or I had so many conversations about this player for Arizona? I don't know if I talked about him on here or if it was just with Nick and Alan. Trey McBride, and the Steelers for a long time had trouble with tight ends. They had seemed to fix that. Terrell Edmonds was a big part of being able to erase those tight ends for a while. I brought up Trey McBride because I didn't think that the Cardinals were necessarily a very, explosive passing attack, but he was the one guy that had really started to come on. They did not have an answer for him, especially in the first half. Like, I don't know what the plan was supposed to be.
He's the only one they didn't have an answer for.
Right. Yeah. And then when they started taking him away in the second half, then Arizona was able to run the football. So anytime that like Pittsburgh started to punch back, Arizona had an answer for them. But McBride, 8 catches, 89 yards, I think, in this one. I think Michael Walker was the primary defender for most of that first half. They did not have an answer for him. I mentioned I thought like Trenton Thompson could make sense to match up with him with the way that he had played. And if it didn't work out, then I know it sucks because you want him to be able to move around more. But why didn't Minkah see more of him? With the fact that you weren't having, Rondale Moore give you a ton of problems or Hollywood Brown give you a ton of problems in this one. it should have been taken away Trey McBride. You got to adjust to what Arizona was doing, which was clearly getting him the football early and often in this one. And I just don't think the Steelers defense adjusted to it early enough. And that's why, he was so explosive in this game. Like I said, 8 for 89 and a touchdown.
The only other Cardinals receiver was Jeff Swaim that had more than one catch. Another tight end, coincidentally enough. Everyone else had one or none.
Yeah, I actually didn't even realize that. Wow.
Jeff Swaim had 2, and everybody else had 1.
Which kind of goes, if you're looking at McBride just as a pass catch, not necessarily tight end, that kind of goes with what the Steelers defense has done all year. Like one guy, whether it's the superstar or somebody else, is going to get his numbers, but they're going to take away everybody else. But unfortunately, in this one, it did burn them. We've seen times where like it hasn't mattered, and they're okay with doing that. But in this one, because of, again, they were able to end up running the ball so well down the stretch when the Steelers started to take him away. That's what it was. More than anything else, I think the Cardinals had a counter punch when the Steelers took away the one thing that they wanted to do. The Raiders didn't have a counter punch to, saying, okay, throw to Devontae Adams. They didn't have somebody else to go to. So in this one, Arizona was like, okay, we got Trey McBride. Let's cook with this for a little bit. The Steelers adjust to it. Then we start. James Conner goes over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one.
Yeah, they had an answer for everything that they were doing. It was just a frustrating game. And honestly, I mean, obviously you rewatched it, but just watching it, it just was frustrating. Yeah. And I feel like the rain delay added even more to the frustration.
Two rain delays.
2 rain delays added more to the frustration because it's just like, if Steelers are going to lose, I just want to get this game over with.
Here's what we really haven't talked about at all. And, we normally avoid this subject, but a lot of people, here's the yearly Tomlin game was this one against the Cardinals, losing to a 2-10 team at home. This is the one time, and I'm not on board with like this being a thing all the time, but I definitely think that they were outcoached in this one. I mean, top to bottom, I think when you have a performance like that at home against that opponent where you should be able to just go in, play your game, not do anything too crazy and be able to walk out with a win. When you lose to that team by multiple possessions and look the way that the Steelers did, I think, there is some credence to this one and a lot of the blame falling on Tomlin for this one. I am by no means saying that he should be on the hot seat or questioning if he's the guy for the job or anything like that. I'm talking about this one game specifically.
To do it.
I'm talking about this one game specifically. Him, Terrell, everybody on the coaching staff, I thought was just outclassed by Arizona's coaching staff, which I do not think is necessary. I do think their offensive coordinator is actually very good. Drew Petzing. I think he's a decent coordinator, but there's no reason that they should have lost this football game, especially.
And it's not a better coach than Tomlin.
No, absolutely not. It shouldn't be.
He just was in this game.
Yeah.
But as far as like the coaching staff goes, why do you think that there's always just one game that this happens to? I mean, maybe like obviously the Cardinals are bad, but like they also beat the Cowboys, so it's not like
that was without Kyler.
Yeah, so it's not like they've. Then again, the Cowboys haven't beat anybody with a winning record, so maybe I don't have a point.
The Cardinals are 2-2 since Kyler came back, and they've played their other 2 games like tough. They played well. Actually, the Rams game got out of hand, but they were playing them tough in the first half. Yeah, I don't know what I think that it happens more around the league than people realize, and they're just so tunnel visioned on Pittsburgh. They think this is just like a Tomlin thing. I think bad teams beat teams that they have no reason beating on a yearly basis, and it just doesn't get talked about because it's not Mike Tomlin.
How much do you put into them overlooking the Cardinals, like was being floated around?
Yeah, I heard, Jaylen Warren talked about that. I saw people put out part of what Diontae Johnson said as opposed to the full video, which Chris Carter did. Because Diontae said like they prepared well throughout the week, just as they would for any other game. They thought they had a good week of practice, but he just didn't think that it looked the same in the game. And maybe some guys were, looking past this one. Jaylen Warren's comments to me were a little bit different because it seemed like he was saying like straight up that they were looking past in this one. They weren't taking them as seriously. Like Minka talked about Trey McBride specifically. Maybe they didn't take him as serious. Elandon Roberts kind of downplayed all of it, saying like, this is the NFL, like NFL teams take NFL teams seriously. So I don't know what to make of it. It's, each guy might be looking at it differently, but you got to have everybody on the same page. And out of everything with all those guys, I agree with Elandon Roberts the most, and they better be looking at the New England Patriots as an NFL team that could absolutely beat them, because they can. If they go into this game with the exact same mindset that they just had against Arizona, they will lose to the New England Patriots.
Yeah, and I only bring that up because of us talking about the coaching staff, and I know these are grown men. This is a professional job, and they should be able to motivate themselves. This is a National Football League, but at the same time, I feel like motivation also does come from your coaching staff, even at this level. So I wonder how much would you associate if they were overlooking the Cardinals, if any? Like, just say, for example, like you agree with we take Jaylen Warren's comments, and they actually did overlook the Cardinals somewhat. Like, how much is that is on the coaching staff not instilling that in the previous week?
That's tough because, again, you're talking about guys that should be able to self-motivate.
I feel like it's different at the college and high school level than it is at the NFL level.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at where the Steelers are right now, certainly before this game, maybe still after, depending on, how the Ravens play the rest of the way. Absolutely still in the mix for the division, let alone the fact that they're still looking good for a playoff spot. What more motivation do you need as an NFL player than to have a shot in the dance? Like, that should have been all they're looking at. Let's take care of business at home against Arizona. Then we got, a short week with New England also coming here. 2 2-win teams coming, this should be an opportunity for us to take, not take lightly, but for us to take. And so that's why I think this is such a letdown to me, because you had the opportunity to get to 8 wins right here, with New England coming in, and you could have gone, and I know I'm bringing in like a stupid thing here, get over your preseason Vegas win total of 8.5 by Thursday against New England. I still think they're looking fine. Like, they're still in that 5 seed. And they could be at 8-5 after Thursday and be feeling okay again about things. But man, such a letdown in this game against Arizona. And
if you won, you would have been tied with the Jags and the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's very true. 2 teams that maybe we didn't expect to see lose this week. Kansas City losing to Green Bay on Sunday night, and then Jacksonville against, you mentioned Jake Browning earlier in the show, Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday night. Now they're 6-6. I mean, they're still kind of in the mix. If Browning continues to play like that, if Browning continues to play like that, they're not going anywhere. They got enough playmakers on the outside, obviously, and Jamar Chase, T. Higgins is back as of last night, and Joe Mixon's playing well. Their defense isn't very good, but they got some players there on that side of the football too. I think that they haven't been able to make up for the loss of their safeties. They lost both starting safeties this offseason, and Jesse Bates and Von Bell, and they haven't been able to make up for. I like Daxton Hill, but I don't think he's that type of player. And they, the other guy, Nick Scott, they brought in from the Rams. He's a good player too, but I just don't think that they fit exactly what they lost.
I'm just looking at the playoff picture right now for the AFC, and there's eight teams within the 6-6 to 8-4 window.
Yeah.
With the Bengals at the bottom at 6-6, tied with the Bills and the Broncos. Then you have the Texans, Browns, Colts, and Steelers at 7-5, and then Jags and Chiefs at 8-4. Like, you're talking about
just
the
a Ravens
2-game swing for either of these guys.
Yeah, if you're the Ravens, how good are you feeling right now? I mean, with what you've seen happen in the division, to the quarterbacks, and man, I mean, between them and I think the Dolphins got to be feeling good too. So I don't know. You obviously, like, when you have Patrick Mahomes, you feel like the Chiefs are going to figure it out. Lawrence's injury doesn't appear to be too bad compared to what it looked like it was last night.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think now, okay, so they got to go play Cleveland. And obviously we want the Jaguars to win that game. They got to go play Cleveland now, maybe without Trevor Lawrence or with Trevor Lawrence with an ankle sprain. If the Jags drop that game, Houston, just one game behind them. I don't know. That should get interesting.
Houston could do it.
Yeah. And then you got to start talking about. Unreal. Yeah, I was going to say, and then you got to start talking about, should CJ Stroud be in the MVP conversation? If you don't think he is already.
I think he is right now.
Yeah.
which would be insane.
Okay, right now? Who would be your top 3 for MVP?
Stroud's in there, honestly.
Okay.
He's been so impressive to me for being a rookie, and whenever it came to the 2023 quarterbacks, was Stroud your number 1, or were you Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson? As far as like,
I'm not gonna lie, it was Bryce Young.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I didn't have Stroud number 1 either. So, man,
as much as I loved Anthony Richardson, I did have Stroud too. I had Young, Stroud, Richardson, Levis, maybe Hendon Hooker, who we haven't seen obviously in Detroit, but
I mean, my top would be CJ Stroud. I feel like Jalen Hurts is still in my top 3, despite what they did against the 49ers, getting shellacked in Philadelphia. And honestly, maybe Dak, even though the Cowboys have been
you said 2 of my 3. But I have a non-quarterback. I would take out Jalen Hurts and I'd have Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. For some reason, when I think MVP, my mind only goes to quarterback.
I get it, and who knows?
Like I wasn't even thinking about any other positions, but like I was subconsciously doing that, not because I didn't want to think about a running back or a receiver. Like it seems like it always goes to an MVP or it goes to a quarterback. But
I do want to mention real quick from this game too before we do our predictions for Thursday night. The injury stuff. Elandon Roberts now dealing with a groin. Isaac Seumalo left with a shoulder. This Elandon Roberts one, though, is as good as Seumalo has ended up being, and as well as he's played down the stretch here and important, I think he is to that offensive line. Due to what they've already lost at inside linebacker, they really can't afford to be without Elandon Roberts. And I'm not talking, if it's a 1-game absence, okay, maybe you can get by New England without him. But, man, you lose Cole Holcomb. You lose Kwon Alexander. Elandon Roberts has stepped in and played really well. Now he's dealing with this groin issue. Man, what else is going to happen at inside linebacker? Like, you could be looking at tomorrow night, by the time people are watching and listening to this, at an inside linebacker room of Michael Walker, Mark Robinson, Blake Martinez, and maybe they elevate Miles Jack. Like, oh my goodness. If you had told me before the season that was going to be the inside linebacker room, are you kidding me?
And Darius Leonard did sign with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yep. That was disappointing to see too, because like as soon as you see that he was being released, that's a guy you instantly circle as to someone that the Steelers could have brought in.
With everything they've lost there, yeah, I mean it made sense, but from everything that I've heard, they didn't even like make contact. Like there was, yeah.
Well, now he's on the other side of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do. I honestly don't, because that room would be so thin if he couldn't go. And you already are looking at whether or not, like, Mark Robinson, it's pretty clear they don't want to play him.
He was so bad on Sunday. I mean, I'm not trying to bash the guy, because clearly, like, they went into this season with him break glass in case of emergency. They did not want to play him, but with the injuries they've had to play him. He was getting blown up in run plays at the second level. I mean, it was honestly, I'm not exaggerating, that was some of the worst run defense I've seen in my life. As somebody that watched Devin Bush play linebacker for the Steelers.
Well, I mean, this is me trying to, like, not necessarily defend Mark Robinson, but didn't he only play one year of linebacker at Texas A&M before
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Yeah.
He was only a linebacker for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So
I get it. I'm not. It's
not
more
trying
about
to defend him, but I'm just trying to, like, wrap my head around why he'd be so bad. That's really what I'm trying to justify it. That's what I'm doing.
And I get it. They didn't want to play him this year, and like I think he is a promising player. I love the athletic profile. I think they might have something in him down the road. It's not right now, and unfortunately, he had to play right now and got badly exposed against the Arizona Cardinals.
I'm just saying. And not that this would have mattered, because 2 out of the 3, or at least 2 out of the 3 are out for the season, and 3 of the 4 that you opened the season with could be out in this game. But this goes back to whenever we were looking at that 53-man roster, the initial 53-man roster, and I bring up it was surprising to me that they were only carrying 4 middle linebackers. And I still go back.
Yeah, they got rid of Kwiatkowski and Tanner Muse. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they should have at least carried a 5th, because then maybe you wouldn't have as much of a depth issue.
Although I will say I like the idea of having Blake Martinez and Miles Jack as opposed to those two. It's just they weren't here the entire time.
They weren't here the entire time. And
yeah,
I just go back to that when I look at the linebacker problems they're having. Is like maybe they should have carried at least 5, because it seems surprising to me when they were carrying 4 in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, predictions for Thursday night: Steelers and Patriots. I'll go on. I'm going to make a bold prediction and say that both teams are going to score over 6. I feel like that's a bold prediction for this one. I mean, the total being set at like 30. I mean, the lowest that we've seen, insane. But the Patriots have given up like 13 points, 10 points, and 6 points, and they're 0-3 in the last 3 weeks doing that. Something stupid like that. So this is the perfect Steelers game for them, right? Like, the offense isn't going to have to do a whole lot. New England's missing probably their best offensive player now in Ramondre Stevenson, so they shouldn't be that tall of a task to shut them down offensively. The one thing is, what the Steelers want to do is the one thing New England is good at: defending the run. They are 3rd in the NFL in rushing yards allowed per game at under 88. So it's going to be interesting. I think this is a play action week. I think, this is a week that you get Jaylen Warren heavily involved in the passing game, as opposed to, just letting him run between the tackles and getting him. You want to get him out on the perimeter. I still think they're going to try to run the football, but I'm just saying, I think that, with the way New England has been able to stop the run, it's going to come down to hitting some play action shots. Like I mentioned earlier, could be a George Pickens week if you can, expose some of that, get him on a double move or something like that. I think the Steelers win this one for sure. I will say 16-6. The Steelers win on Thursday Night Football.
I like it. I agree. I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to run the ball all that well. I think they're going to have to move it through the air more than Steeler fans would like, especially for the way that we have been running the ball as of late. And I think that what we talked about with Mitch Trubisky kind of feeling loose, maybe not necessarily in this one, but at least in the next one, but starting in this one, there's no pressure behind him. Really, I genuinely don't feel like Mitch Trubisky should feel much pressure at all. Like, just go out there and do it. Like, there's really no expectations for you. You're at an all-time low, I feel like, in expectations from the fan base. They're not expecting you to do anything. And especially in a game like this, they're not expecting any team to do anything in this game. It's just arguably 2 bad teams playing each other. So go out there and just let it loose. And I'm going to go with a score that our friend Joe, who is part of the Around the 412 Fantasy Football Show, if you haven't looked at that, go check that out. But
should be back this week.
For those on YouTube, so I'm going to bring this up because it was on Twitter. So I want to show everybody that he tweeted out, "Good news, everybody! Script is out." And it was a picture of Heinz Field with the Steelers and the Patriots, and the score is 20-16. And I don't know what was going on in Heinz Field where this was on the screens, but I'm just going to steal this. I'm going to go with the script of the game, and I'm going to say the Steelers are going to win 20-16. I know that seems like a bit of a shootout. I understand.
That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points. I'm very curious. What is the total in this game?
30.5, I believe.
30.5. So we'd be hammering the over at 20-16.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's like a 40-30 game for other teams. Like
30.5. And are the Steelers favored? I'm assuming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's the line?
I think they're favored by like 6. Like, they're expecting New England to score no points, basically, which they haven't.
Okay, at least as far as ESPN goes, 29.5, and the Steelers are 6-point favorite. So what you're telling me is they're expecting the game to be like 23-6. That's what that total's telling me. Or no. trying to think of how that works. Like 20 or 17 to
17 to 14 would go over.
17 to
or
14 would go over. So 17 to 12, 17 to 13. Like that's really what.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe my math's still off, but I'm just trying to think of like that is such a I feel like anomaly of a total for maybe not the Steelers, but just in football in general, under
It's
30
the lowest.
for the
It's
total.
the lowest.
It is the lowest, like for the season.
No, all time. It's the lowest for an NFL game, or since it was starting to be tracked.
That is amazing.
And it's gone down. It was the lowest. It was the lowest at 30.5. Now it's 29.5. So it's continuing to set history.
That's
I got it at 34.5.
That's awesome.
I got Steelers money line. Steelers money line and under. Yeah.
I mean, if you told me that the Steelers are going to win this game like they did in that monsoon against Miami in like 2006 or 7, where they won like 3-0.
Was it 3-0? Okay.
I thought it was 3-0.
It might have been. Probably was.
I'd believe you. And at the end of the day, I'd be laughing at you because I was the one sitting at home watching it.
Dude, I'm excited to be there. Color Rush, they got the gold end zones.
Color Rush and the gold end zones. The gold ends. Should the gold end zones be permanent?
I mean, yeah, but like, what do you do about Pitt playing there? Like, how do you?
They have gold on the jersey.
I get, yeah. So what? The gold stays, but you just have to take off the Steelers, like, so it'd have to say Pitt or Panthers.
I think they could do. They changed the logo in the middle of the field. They could change the end zones.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wish that I saw somebody. I think it was Donnie Football put up a pull gold end zones or block numbers. Which one would you rather have be permanent if you can only pick one?
Block numbers.
Yeah, that's an interesting, because if you're bringing back block numbers full time, are you still wearing like the Color Rush once a year or something, or?
Well, the Color Rush are block numbers, right?
Are they?
I think the Color Rush are block numbers. I'm pretty sure that the Color Rush have block numbers.
I'm like having trouble picturing it now. Like you said that, and I'm sitting here like trying to picture the Color Rush jersey now.
So I'm pretty sure the Color Rush are block numbers. And I'll tell you my reasoning why I would rather have oh yeah, they're block numbers. Look at this. Look at this. I will present this. These are 100% block numbers.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I was having like trouble visualizing it.
Yeah, I would 100% take the block numbers. Not only does the Color Rush, in my opinion, make more sense because you'd have the same continuation of the numbers, whether you're wearing a Color Rush as an alternate jersey or you're wearing a normal jersey, but the Color Rush, or the block numbers you get regardless of you are home or away. And the white block jerseys look so good.
Yeah.
The yellow end zones looks cool, but you only get them at home games. The block you get no matter what.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I would agree. I think ultimately I would agree anyway, but I thought about it, like, because there's certain jerseys that I think I really like, but it's cool that they break them out like once a year. But for the reason of also having the away block numbers, I would want those to be full time.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, we had to. Wait, never mind. Bold prediction. Yeah, I want bold prediction. One bold prediction.
Bold prediction? We
did scores, but I don't think you said any like bold prediction unless I guess that is, if you're picking that as your score, I guess that is a bold prediction in itself.
Bold prediction is Mitch Trubisky will throw and rush for a touchdown.
Okay. What would be a bold prediction here? Who's somebody random, kinda?
Offense or defense?
Offense. Either a tight end not named Pat Freiermuth will catch
Miles Boykin.
No, not Miles Boykin. A tight end that isn't Freiermuth is going to catch a touchdown.
So Connor Hayward
or Darnell.
They don't throw to Darnell. Let's be serious.
Somebody's catching a touchdown. That's a tight end. That's not Pat Freiermuth. There it is.
Oh, Hunter Henry. That's who it will be.
It'd be funny. I'll actually use that to say that I was right. But all right, as Tyler mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is the last opportunity. When I say that, I'm only saying that because we won't talk again until after it's over, to donate to Rocking Around the 412 year 6. We've raised over $30,000 in the first 5 years of doing so. Or actually at this point, 6 years of doing so. It's almost over for year 6. So every year we do this Christmas mission. And we raise money to provide Christmas for as many children as we can in the 724 and 412 areas. As of last year, we also started partnering up with the East Rochester, PA Salvation Army in the name of our late friend Dalton Keene. With the help of Kaylee and Isla, we were able to adopt 26 kids off their Salvation Army angel tree as well, and get everything that they had on their list. That is actually what is to my left when I keep mentioning these boxes that are literally right outside of the shot for me. So yeah, we've been doing that. That is awesome. But we also helped out a couple different families, a single mother of 3 girls, a single mother of 2 boys. And then I got a family that I mentioned this earlier when I put up a video on X that's kind of like on standby. Reached out to me, went to school with me, graduated the year before me, that has 5 kids. So would love to be able to help them out in some capacity. We got a couple donations today that should be able to help us do something. But the more the merrier, the more that we can do, obviously. We're going to be very thankful for that. And if you donate at least $10, you'll be eligible to win some sweet prizes. Eric Carlson jersey, Joey Porter Jr. jersey, Steelers jersey of choice, Minka autograph jersey, Penguin tickets, and at least one Pirates item will be thrown in there as well. TBA. The link to donate is wherever you are watching or listening to this. It will be right there in the GoFundMe. You can read the full mission there. I try to, check all the boxes when I'm saying it, but there might be stuff I missed. It's for sure the mission statement is at the GoFundMe, which is our pinned post on X, or again, right here in the description, wherever you're watching or listening. Also, our friend Haley Wagner, her small business, Everything Custom Designs, Etsy, Facebook links, both below. Check that out. You can get a Christmas gift for somebody, something customized, or you can get a Christmas stocking, Christmas bag, some really cool stuff. Just not one of these bad boys. Can't get a hat. Sorry about it. Not happening. But yeah, I think that's it. For Tyler, for Smitty, this has been another episode of the Around the 412 Steelers show. Go check out our Penguin show for the week, which should drop the following day whenever this is coming out. So whenever you're watching, listening to this, it might be out. It might not be out. Maybe schedule a timer. If you hit that notification bell, you will know when it goes up anyway. But until then, till next time, we'll see you then.